Yesterday, we did a video on rioting and revolution, and someone posed a very good question. So let me get my uncle, since we did a video together yesterday, so we can answer that question. So stay tuned. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. On yesterday's video, we were talking about rioting and revolution. A person made a comment, and the comment, well, actually, they posed a question, and the question is, what are your thoughts on gerrymandering? Is the grass's role that of survival? So, by you hearing that, what would you say?
Well, again, thank you for this opportunity to try to expound on what we spoke about yesterday. I think the first question was, what is my thoughts on gerrymandering? And two, the second question is whether the grass's role is that of survival. And I guess we'll take the first question and try to address that in a very limited form, because it's not the main subject of what we're talking about. However, yes, it's a question that is legitimate. Gerrymandering is a lawful way for the legislatures to cunningly maneuver the votes, to use certain votes to expand their political powers. And by so doing, they usually minimize other votes. And this minimization affects or violates the 14th Amendment of people whose vote are supposed to have the equal impact as every other vote. Like the president's votes should not be more important than the homeless man under the bridge, or women under the bridge. The votes should have equal impact.
Okay.
So, but the legislatures have found a way, which is lawfully, to minimize the man under the bridge's votes and accentuate the president's vote. So, that, yes, that is something that is a housekeeping question, but you have to understand your power to be able to address those issues as you move on in life.
So with that, would the person, quote unquote, the grass, right? Those that are the grasses, do they feel that they have equal power? Since we talk about gerrymandering, and so if the president's vote has more of a higher strength compared to those that is lowered, right? Is there fight right now in the purpose of having the same equality, like the right to, for that vote to count, to be of the same level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Strength?
Yes, the impact.
Oh, impact, sure, yeah,
yes. Well, yeah, that is an overarching question.
Okay.
But the question that we're talking about is, how do we use the emotions that are coming out of what we see as people abusing their position of trust. Like you are given a position of trust, that the police officer is given a position of trust to serve and to protect.
Okay.
And he has to use that trust within the Constitution of United States and the Constitution of the state that he lives in. So that trust is at this point is being abused.
Okay.
By the person who is lawfully has a position to use a gun, but he's using that gun to abuse the trust that is entrusted to him.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to let people know, that even though that is there, you have the greater power within you to change that policeman's ability to abuse that trust that which you as a taxpayer has given him.
So basically you're saying the individual, so like myself as an individual, have the power and the right to change. Elaborate more on that for me.
Okay. Yeah, you remember yesterday we talked about the elephants and the grass.
Right.
So now the elephants is engaged in a real serious tug of war.
Okay.
And he has no regards to the grass.
Okay.
But the grass has a need to survive, which is what the second part of the question was.
Okay.
So the grass have a need to survive, but
Okay.
he has this elephant who is so overbearing and is so powerful and is trampling over his right to survive. What does the grass do?
Yes.
Is the grass's role just a question of survival? And no, it's not just a question of survival, but you have to survive to be able to thrive. So right now the issue is to survive, and then from that place you could thrive.
Okay. So for the average person that does not know how to survive, how do they start? How do they mentally prepare themselves to survive, so that way they can push through and be strong enough through the trampling of the elephants?
So we'll try to localize that answer
Okay.
of survive to a question of survival, just to the scope of what we're dealing with here,
Okay.
which is how do we stop police brutality?
Okay.
We stop police brutality by changing the laws which allow the police to be brutal. There are laws that are in place right now. However, the people that are prosecuting that law are not prosecuting it to the full length of what the law is now. It's in place. So they're finding ways to undermine the law's ability to have the full effect of what the original intent of the law is. So in that case, we have to come back to the grass and let the grass understand the power that he has, and the power that he has to be able to use this power in such a way that he holds that police officer, he holds the legislature, he holds everybody who is put in a position of trust, he holds their feet to the fire, so that they know that I'm watching you. If you don't do what I elected you to do, you're going to be gone, and somebody else is coming in. That's the power what we're talking about, and that's the only power that you have. And then you could, as you discover this power, it's not just discovering the power and use it at one time and then go about your business. No, this has to be your life.
Okay.
Because you don't stop breathing.
Right.
You don't just clean your house once a year. you clean your house and you continue to clean your house so that you keep the elements that are threats to your house out.
Right. So is it safe to say that most people do not have, should I say, access? They do not have access to that knowledge that there is things in place that can protect them, from brutality and all that stuff, and or do they have the resources or the funds to be able to have access to it? So even though those things might be in place, is it safe to say that majority of people lack that knowledge?
Yes, the people have the knowledge. The knowledge is available, but people do not take the time to literally understand what that knowledge is and what is it, how is it that they can use it.
Okay.
Say, for an example here, we talked yesterday about rioting versus revolution.
Right.
Okay, so in the rioting, when you riot, the collateral consequence of your rioting is I don't even know if you could quantify it,
Yeah.
because it goes from anywhere from you going to prison
Mm-hmm.
for a long time,
Right.
or you just having to come back and pay for those things, like in taxes, like we said yesterday, or in other ways like prices, and but most importantly, you losing your physical liberty to be able to live a life. And if you go to prison, if you have felonies, now you can't vote.
Right.
So, and the collateral consequence keep going. Now you're absent. If you have children, you're not in their lives.
Right.
So they lose the caretaker that is there to provide and protect them. And they'll, at a certain point, they start, they don't have the guidance of the parents, because the parents was using their emotional unwisely.
Yes.
So you
Emotions,
see,
yeah.
so you see the collateral consequence of rioting is it's not good. And actually, you're playing into the people that are abusing the trust.
Yes.
You're playing into their narrative that they want people to have, so they could justify them continuing in the way that they've been going.
Yes.
See, the unlawful, we've done everything, so we have to kill them to eliminate them, or we
Yes.
have to lock them up,
Yes.
or we have to whatever. So that is the danger of not using your, not understanding your power and using your power wisely and having the maximum effect.
Yes.
It's called the maximum utility of your power. Yes, it's a power to vote, but it's the most important power that you have in a civilized society. And the collective use of that power is immeasurable. And that's the only power that politicians understand.
Okay.
And that's why they do things like for example, gerrymandering, to make sure that they undermine your vote, or to some extent eliminate it.
Okay.
And they impede and frustrate your ability to a point that you come to a conclusion that my vote doesn't mean anything. So most people don't go to the
Vote,
polls
yep.
to vote. And because they don't see the effect of the previous vote.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
So what I can actually add to that is that, yes, with the frustration that things are not going the way you want it to go, it's not line up the way you want it to line up. That frustration and the anger and the build-up that continues to happen in your own essence now needs to go into doing your research. All right, apply that energy into your research to figure out how you can let the power of a pen make a difference in your life compared to the anger within come out physically, and destroying things left and right. That will not change and will not enhance the need that you have. However, going out there and figuring out the laws, and applying those laws and standing by those, because there are laws out there, that will protect you and give you that elevation. But if you don't know it, and you spend your time using your voice to make a change instead of using your mind, take a deep breath, breathe in, be calm, and then use that energy to make a difference through the law books, right? And the legal side of things.
Yes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to know the law. You just have to know what your rights are and what you need to do to make sure that you use your rights are not being wasted. Rioting is like once said, I forgot who said that, but there's a wise saying that an empty vessel makes a lot of noise, and at the end of the day, it's still an empty vessel. If you put some substance in the vessel, it would not be as noisy as an empty vessel. So, what we are saying is that understand what your right is. If you're sleeping in your house and you happen to get robbed one day, and you saw the robber, and the robber had a gun, and he takes all your belongings, all your valuables, and leaves your house. Well, your next reaction is to protect yourself, right? So, and in addition to calling the authorities, you probably would go and invest in a gun so that you could at least have a chance to meet the robber's power, or eliminate his with your own gun. But if you were to go get a gun, you never practice on how to shoot the gun. You don't know anything about the gun. You have a gun, but you don't understand how to use your gun. The gun will probably be less effective when the robber comes, because number one, you probably would have to know how to
Hold
it, take the safety out, and if you
Point it accurately.
And measure it and shoot,
Yeah.
with some effect.
Yeah, and not shaky.
And not shaky, because if you're shaky, you can shoot
You-
your own toe.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you do not have the knowledge on how to operate this gun, you have a weapon that is actually of no
Useless.
effect.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're talking about here. Is the grass need to understand what they have.
That they also has a gun.
They have the gun, and their gun is more powerful than the politician's gun. The politician depends on you to go cast the vote for him, so that he could come and take from you. He could create laws that undermines your ability to have liberty. He could do all these things because he had a hidden agenda. So he comes in and he tells you something else. He tells you something, and then he goes out and he does something else.
Yeah.
You would not put up with that. So your reaction is not to stop employing him, because he's already employed. Your next reaction is to remove him. Hold his feet to the fire. Let him know the next election is coming. So if you don't do this, guess what? You're fired. I think I know somebody you always said that. But I think that person doesn't even understand
Yeah.
what it means. Life is not an easy thing. Ronald Reagan says that growing up is not for sissies. It's for people that are willing to take the bull by the horn. So it's for people who are willing to, when they say enough is enough,
Absolutely.
they're willing to walk through fear and look fear in the face and say you have no effect. So you have to be able to eliminate the fear
Absolutely.
to be able to be effective. And without being effective, you cannot even survive, let alone think about thriving. You will have to survive first,
Yes.
and then you will thrive. Trust me. Because in the process of discovering how to survive, then if you if you sustain that process, the next process is to thrive, and then you could go along and bring people along, and you always have to look back, bring people along, educate them on how you got to where you are.
So working together, we have to work together. It's not an isolated thing. Well, let me get here first, and then like we gotta communicate, and we have to communicate to comprehend. We have to understand what we're communicating, making sure that we understand exactly that we're all on the same page.
Right.
One page, one mission, one direction brings change.
Right.
So, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's very important. The stake is way too high. The stake is way too high for us to continue to burn things down and destroy things, and simply because we've been tread upon for 400 years. Yeah.
Right.
If you continue to tear things down, burn things up, you are basically contributing to the same insanity,
And
which
falling into what they want you to believe
that's
and
right.
do.
But you're expecting a different result.
Yeah.
But they're getting the result that you are giving them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't surrender the power that is within you. Use that power to make that change.
Absolutely.
And the only way you could do it is to teach people on how to vote. Create laws that will be able to allow you to put your child in school, educate your child, teach him how to be a man or a woman
Right.
who is willing not only fear God but contribute to society. So in that way, if everything becomes equitable. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you don't I'm not saying eliminate the politician, they're people too. But they have misguided agendas and is based on special interests. And the biggest special interest that we have now is the church. Well, not the church, but the leaders of the church. Because at the end of the day, they are the most culpable in what is going on now. They think they're doing the right thing, but I have my opinion on what Christ says and what I understand Christ to say.
Yeah.
And if people want to hear about it, I'll be glad to share.
I have my own opinion as well too. So it might be a tiny little, back and forth, but
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you for clearing that up.
Yes.
For the gentleman, and hopefully that answers your question. And if you guys have any other questions or thoughts or concerns, by all means ask it, and we will answer it.
If we don't, we'll find out the answer.
Yeah.
If we don't have the answer.
Yeah, we got you.
We don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But the answers is always there if you're willing to look for it.
So right now, the true essence as of right now is that you have a lot of power in you, and it's time to activate it.
Right.
You don't have to expect from somebody else, but put a little expectation on yourself.
That's right.
And once you do that, man, it's a whole different ball game.
That's right.
So
Hold yourself responsible.
yeah,
That's it.
absolutely.
That's the only person you can hold responsible.
And that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But we can discuss that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Hold yourself responsible before you can hold the other person responsible.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, thank you for your time, Uncle. Thank you for your words.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Awesome.
I really am enjoying it. Thank you guys because I think it's time for us to really take advantage of the media that's available.
Absolutely.
And be able to share and reach out for one another.
Yeah.
And have one another, because education that is condensed is not, information that's condensed is invaluable. But when you have information that is out there and let
Absolutely.
people be their own filtration system.
Yes.
You filter out what you think is good for you and you use it. And
Yes.
it's good for
Well,
everybody.
I would love for us to talk about how to self-empower ourselves.
Okay.
Because we're telling people to be strong, right?
Right.
So instead of expecting from somebody, we gotta expect from yourself first. So let's do a video on that.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, how to self-empower, so that way we can know how to be strong and come and unite as one.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
One love, big hugs,
Yes.
and until next time, peace.
Peace.
Already.
Already.